Hi guys, this is Shmuel Gonzalez, the Barrio Boy Chick, coming to you live from Boyle Heights History Studios Museum and Cultural Center, here in the heart of Boyle Heights, East Los Angeles. And why am I coming at you with a live stream in the middle of the night? Well, one of the reasons that we have the name studios within there is because we also do have studios here, music recording studios. We have the oldie studio of Lollipop Records located here. We also have film studios where people work here in the evening as well. So yeah, we are still working here, but as everyone else is, busy doing their projects, I've been sitting here. I'm really reflecting on tonight, on some history related to this very night. Actually, this is a perfect moment for us to be able to talk about this moment in history because we're going to be talking about tonight the banning of the Zoot suit, which interestingly took place 77 years ago this very night. Um, on the night of June 9th, going into June 10th, during the middle of the night, Los Angeles City Hall was active with the city council calling an emergency meeting in order to address the issue that had really gripped the city for a week already, which was the violence of the Zoot Suit riots, which had begun on the evening of June 3rd, and for a week raged through the city of Los Angeles, starting in downtown Los Angeles, going into East Los Angeles, and eventually spreading out throughout the county of Los Angeles. And for a week, there was vigilante violence that was ripping through the streets of the city of Los Angeles as sailors who had flooded into the city during the wartime of World War II were clashing with young Mexican American youth, which they regarded as juvenile delinquents and who they believed did not understand their place in society. Young Mexican Americans, here in a city like this, in which we were not exactly a minority, young Mexican Americans who had been born in this country were really, the confidence that they showed on the streets of Los Angeles, especially when it came to the youth at this time starting to really involve themselves in going out to the dance clubs, the movie theaters within downtown Los Angeles. This put them into clashes with many of the sailors who had been coming into Los Angeles from all over the country and which were not used to encountering Mexican Americans. And eventually this had led to, some rumbles. And, these rumbles eventually gave way to the Zoot Suit riots. And we've been talking about that history all week, the history of the Zoot Suit riots, which raged vigilante violence caused by sailors, assisted by the police, and really fueled by the media that made this spectacle front page news. And so what happens is that after a week of riots ripping through the city and county of Los Angeles, finally the authorities called an emergency meeting because they needed to do something about it. So in the cover of night, on June 9th, going into the morning of June 10th, 1943, the city council decided that they were going to pass a city ordinance. And this is the city ordinance. Let me bring it up. The Los Angeles City Council passed this resolution, quote, "Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council, by resolution, find that the wearing of zoot suits constitutes a public nuisance and does hereby instruct the city attorney to prepare an ordinance declaring same a nuisance and prohibit the wearing of zoot suits with reet pleats within the city limits of Los Angeles." And so consequently from, this night, 77 years ago, the Zoot suit, it became banned. It was no longer, permitted to be worn within the city of Los Angeles. If the Zoot suit was really kind of the symbol which many of these sailors were, attacking. They were attacking young people in order to defrock them of their Zoot suits and beat them up. And after they beat them up and left the kids bleeding in the street, they actually would light the Zoot suits on fire many times, kind of like you would do a flag that offended you. And so what happens is that the city council at this point, the only thing that they can think of in order to quell the violence is to ban the Zoot suit. And that's really, really kind of wild. That's really kind of wild that to this day, believe it or not, this ordinance is still on the books. And, we were just sitting around having this conversation, with people, here in the studio, and they could not believe that here, 77 years later, this ordinance is still on the books. And as a historian, I say this is because I often make fun of, old ordinances. Historians like to pick out, strange laws on the books, such as, what the cost of the fine is for letting a drunken donkey sleep in your bathtub and stuff like this. A bunch of old antiquated laws, on the books that people, I guess, for some reason have never really thought to repeal. That's just really kind of strange, considering how the Zoot suit really is one of these celebrated styles within the Chicano, the Mexican American community to this day. How could it be that on this very, very popular style that people, wear for, especially for weddings? That's in my family, when you would see it most often is when my cousins were getting married, we would get suited up for a Zoot suit. And so it's just amazing that, this many years later, with all the advances that we've had in, Mexican American civil rights, no one has really thought about undoing this really unjust city ordinance that we have. But it was just something that we were thinking about. I've been actually on camera all day. I've been interviewed, not just by media, but also by, our local student media, which I really love, Boyle Heights Beat. Also, I did an interview tonight with El Pachuco Zoot Suit Incorporated, who are, they're the real OGs when it comes to making Zoot suits. They made the Zoot suits for Zoot Suit the Play, Zoot Suit the Movie. And, they're my tailors. And, we've become really good friends. We're like family. And I was on their show. They created a show during the COVID-19 crisis. And, recalling the 77th anniversary of the Zoot Suit riots, they wanted to have me on. So we actually did a longer show tonight than we normally do, just because of how important this topic is in light of the unrest that we have in America right now. And so we really talked about that, what the historical tie-ins to the African American community, to the Mexican American community in the era, of the Zoot suit. How it's, something that is borrowed from the African American swing, nightlife, from that type of subculture. And it's rather tragic that young Mexican Americans in the Zoot suit era, they are introduced through the jazz swing, kind of subculture to downtown, to the other America, that just wasn't white. That there was something else out there that they could be part of. And unfortunately, they not just learned about that side of America, but they also learned in creeping out from our neighborhoods the true brutality of Jim Crow segregation, what African Americans regularly dealt with in order to go to the movie theaters, in order to go to, in order to try to go dancing, in order to try to go to cafes and stuff like that. And so that's what the Zoot Suit riots is. It's that moment in history in which Mexican American youth that are born in this country, starts, trying to integrate into the greater Los Angeles. And, there's a pushback, there's a blowback that comes with that. And, but it's really sad that no one has thought, all these years later, no one has thought about trying to repeal this ordinance, the city ordinance, which bans the wearing of the Zoot suit. That means that if an officer just wanted to be nasty and, wanted to bring, you in for it, they actually could. That's the reason why we don't keep bad laws on the books, is because, they can be taken advantage of. But hopefully in this next year, we'll be able to, do, some outreach to the Los Angeles City Council, especially now that we have a new city council member that's coming in. I'd really like to, reach out and see if we could finally get this, really unjust and strange city ordinance to be taken off the books. But tomorrow, I'm going to be talking about the influence of the Zoot suit. Where does it come from? We're going to be talking about how this style emerges from the African American community, and really talk about the different elements of the Zoot suit. How especially in Los Angeles, the Zoot suit and the style which the Pachucos kept was really inspired by different types of groups, an amalgamation of different working class immigrant people that were sharing their styles, and we're blending culture together. And so we're going to talk about that. But I have been in front of cameras all day. So I just wanted to take a quick moment to reflect with all of you about that, to this day, 77 years later, we still have this strange ordinance that was, passed in the cover of night. We really should, reach out to the city council and see about repealing this. And yeah, but hopefully you guys will join me on tomorrow as we talk about the history of the Zoot suit and its influences and the blending of culture that the Zoot suit represents. And it's good. I think you guys are really going to enjoy this talk, because we really get to lean into how the story is just a heroic story of young people who decided to challenge the boundaries of Jim Crow segregation. And we really need to recall that. That's really some of the history that we need to take great pride in. So yeah, until then, I'll see you tomorrow about noontime. Have a great night, guys. Be well. Be safe out there.